have to try very hard to get me to dance. Yutra and I have been married now for nearly 21 years, and she's not managed to get me to dance since our wedding reception. Now, I'm not proud of this. I just feel very self conscious and awkward, and my body doesn't seem to do what others manage to get theirs to do. So I won't join in. It's not that I don't enjoy watching other people dancing, and so the reason I wouldn't have joined in the children's games that Jesus is describing would, I think, just be shyness. I hope he'd forgive me that. What he's really pointing to are the people who think that joining in a children's game in the marketplace is just not for them, an interruption in their busy lives, and they won't join in. Jesus had watched children play like this. It was a typical game in his day. Children would play weddings and funerals, playing tunes and chants on makeshift instruments to celebrate a great wedding procession, or beating their breasts and crying out in melodramatic grief for a funeral procession. And you, he says to the people around him, you, this generation, are just like this when it comes to God. You think God's not for you, an interruption in your busy life. You won't join in. And the dramatic, ascetic lifestyle of John the Baptist, living in the wilderness, eating locusts and wild honey, wearing just animal skin, you thought he was deranged, Jesus says. You thought he had a demon. And Jesus says, I come, and because I join in the dancing and the wedding parties and love a good feast and want to spend time with people that you look down on, you say I'm a glutton and a drunkard. So here you've seen two very different expressions of life with God, John the Baptist and me, says Jesus, and you still won't join in. God, it seems, you think is not for you, an interruption in your busy life. I have a feeling Jesus is saying the same to our generation, though I suspect in rather stronger terms. A generation that has little time for God or Jesus or John the Baptist. It's not for us, an interruption in our busy lives. And now our busy lives have been through a massive interruption. This 3-month and continuing interruption. It certainly changed the way we see the world. It's changed the way we value people. We value people differently. For example, we've not marked the National Health Service birthday as a nation before, and now we are doing so with incredible gratitude. And the extraordinary thing in the midst of so much that is deeply troubling is that there are signs of people joining in. We've joined in our communities and our neighbourhoods, taking care of each other, making time, making the effort, looking out for one another. And at the very point where church people, I include myself, have lamented that we can't get into buildings, people who may not have come to church have joined in church services online. And suddenly the walls of the church are no longer there. There are no barriers. There are no requirements to understand strange practices and behaviours as you step through the church door. Just a simple invitation to watch and receive. And then for those of us who are taking part, particularly in Zoom services like this one, there's been a new sort of joining in for us. For a start, we see each other's faces, not just the backs of people's heads. And then we found ourselves talking to people that maybe we've not talked to before. We've shared concerns and hopes. We've prayed for each other in ways that we may not have prayed before. And we've discovered in our care for one another and in our communities, our sharing with and our praying for one another, our finding space to realise that there is more to life, we've discovered that we have indeed been joining in. I don't think any of us or any of our churches will be going back to the way they were before. It's going to be very different for all of us, including me, if we are going to follow where God is leading us. God has shown us too much about what joining in and helping others join in looks like for us to go back to old patterns, whether that's service in our communities or services in church. Through this great interruption, we've all faced things we may not have faced before, including just how heavy people's burdens are. We've been reminded, called once again to be outward looking, outward serving, open, a church without walls, living for others. People are seeking the reality of God that we've glimpsed, and God has shown us ways to share that. And if all that feels like a burden, to follow where He is leading us, Jesus says to all of us, "Come, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So maybe now you can hear the children playing tunes and chimes on their makeshift instruments in celebration, inviting us to dance. So let's join in, even me. Thanks be to God.